Hi everyone, welcome. What you see here is my outdoor worm bag, and what you see here are the foods that I'm going to use to feed the worms that live inside my outside worm bag. So, as a lot of you know, as my systems grow older and older in age, I try to transition them to less and less bedding materials and let them work down what remains in the system. And then as far as the foods go, I sometimes transition to sort of small particle size foods, which, as you can see, coffee, worm chow, both definitely in that category of small particle size foods. And it's been 15 days since we last checked in here. You know, I noticed a little bit of a typo in the name of the last video pertaining to this system. The last time we came in here, the system was 247 days of age. And during the video, we talked about that age, but the name of the video itself, I had inverted the 7 and the 4, so I referred to this as a 274-day-old system. I've since corrected the name of that video, because it was definitely not 274 days of age. It was 247 days of age. Today, it's now 262 days of age. And more than 2 weeks have passed since we last checked in here to feed these little guys. Even then, more than 2 weeks ago, we were sort of anticipating the fact that this system would probably stay out here, despite the fact that we're now in the middle of December and I'm in a region where we definitely experience winter and cold and snow and freezing and everything else like that. Despite the fact that I do live in a place where cold temperatures are eventually going to arrive, we're still sort of going through a little bit of a kind of a mild period. I mean, here and there, the temperatures overnight do drop below freezing. Even last time we came in here, we were probing around and I was complaining a little bit how my hand was chilly. And, well, gosh, if my hand is chilly, I can only imagine how the worms feel. And there was even like chunks of frozen material out here. I'm not noticing any of that here today. And even though yesterday was a little bit chilly, the temperature has bounced back up again, so it's nice and warm again today, and it's going to be that way throughout the extended forecast. I believe there's another couple chilly days coming up in the near future, and then it's going to warm up again. So it doesn't seem like winter is quite ready to set in here in my region. So it seems to me quite unlikely that we're going to experience a white Christmas this year. It's kind of funny. All last winter, not even once did I need to shovel snow. I have a little stretch of public sidewalk up in the front of my property where I'm responsible for clearing out the snow when it falls. And all last year I wasn't even required to do it, not even once. So I'm wondering if we're going to have a similar winter this year. We're already starting to see some of the leftovers from the last check-in, and I did sort of anticipate, since temperatures are cooler now and that results in somewhat slower worm activity, that we'd probably see leftovers out here. In fact, I even came out here thinking, you know, should I establish some sort of threshold in my mind for saying, hey, you know what, there's still so much leftovers here, it would be kind of unusual to add more food, and maybe we should just let it ride with what was put in here last time 15 days ago. We haven't really probed all the way through the feeding area yet, so I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the case here. I mean, as far as the worm chow and the coffee goes, I'm sure we could just add a little bit, even if we don't go too overboard. We could probably still at least add a little bit of food. Why don't we just do a quick upturn of the entire feeding area? I mean, I kind of even reached below it in a way, I believe. And some of the things I'm already bumping into are throwbacks to feedings way back in the summertime when there was still corn. Little chunks of corn cob down here. The other thing that we bumped into last time were a lot of leftover bits of paper towel and coffee filters and cardboard bits and various types of bedding type materials, which pretty much account for the carbon rich balance to their food supply. So if they're getting stuff from me that are kitchen scraps like coffee and other things, those things tend to be pretty rich in nitrogen content. So to try to balance that out, the carbon rich bedding they receive eventually does turn to just another food source, which doesn't have the nitrogen content of the everyday kitchen scraps. And I think that there's probably going to be a good bit of that stuff remaining in here that they're going to be just a-okay with for a while. I'm even seeing some banana peels, which were not part of the last feeding. That was a couple feedings ago. So the leftovers in here are quite abundant. But I believe that we're just going to sprinkle in some coffee, some worm chow, just for good measure, so that we can mark today's check-in as a feeding. And I think we'll just let it continue. So let's let these little guys settle in, then we can sort of reconstruct their feeding zone, and then, you know, let them continue in peace. Yeah, at this point, most of the worms have managed to squirm out of view and retreat out of the daylight, but some of these little guys stuck on top of this piece of cardboard are not going to be able to find their way out of the daylight, so I don't want to continue prolonging their discomfort out here in the daylight. Worms definitely don't like being exposed to the daylight, and I don't think it causes them discomfort, but I think that they just sort of it's like a built-in reflex. They know that by being out in the sun, they're not that they know, but I guess biologically their systems somehow sense the fact that it's a perilous place to be, whether it's the potential of their bodies drying out and then that leading to their untimely end, or possibly just by being out in the daylight being visible to potential predators. So I guess natural selection, right? The worms of years gone by that didn't react to daylight and just stayed out in plain view either dried up or got eaten by birdies, and the ones that somehow sensed that retreating down into the bedding below them would be the wise thing to do, or the ones that survived to pass their genes on to the next generation that might have also inherited that sort of ability to react to the conditions that could lead to a dangerous situation. So we're going to drop in some of my worm chow. Like I said, I don't want to feed them too much. I don't think it's necessary. We're going to give them some of my coffee. Here again, I've got plenty to give them, but I'm only going to give them a little. And I think we can leave it at that. So that's it now for our check-in with our now 262-day outdoor worm bag. It's gone 15 days without a feeding, and I had a hunch that, you know, we would see a good many leftovers. There was a lime, there were some tomatoes, there was even a bunch of old noodles that were thrown in here last time that hardly showed any signs of wear, perhaps a little mold, but that was about it. So they got plenty of food in here, but what the heck. I figured let's give them some coffee and worm chow anyway. Sort of give them a variety and let them continue. But luckily the stuff we're giving them now today is all small particle foods which they can eat quickly, and none of that stuff is going to leave any sort of residue or leftovers, hopefully driving us to the point where at some point in the near future we're going to see much less particle matter, much less leftover bedding and stuff, and pretty soon have a batch of harvestable castings. All right, everyone, that's it for our check-in. I've got a few things I got to take care of getting cleaned up and put away, but I'm not going to keep you around for that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.